right, the big news today, and again, this was this morning. I thought this would happen last night, but this slimy little shit named Kevin McCarthy, what a thug he is. Just a useless human being. Pray for a bolt of lightning. Well, don't pray for it. That's stupid. But concentrate on a bolt of lightning. Zoom. End of story. But Kevin McCarthy spent 8 hours masturbating in the well of the House last night, trying to, there was no way he was going to eliminate the vote on the what's left of the Build Back Better bill. No way he was going to make all the Democrats turn and run for the exits. That's what Trump's bully boys did. But McCarthy, just being the prick that he is, the useless prick that he is, just stood there and talked for 8 hours until he ran out of words or ran out of whatever the hell he was reading. I have no idea. And then they took the vote, and the bill passed the House narrowly. Not a single Republican voted for it. So keep that in mind the next time we want to praise Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, because they are both on the 1-6 committee investigating what these Nazi fuckers did. But they are not your friend. They really are not. If you are a normal human being, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and the rest of the dregs of the Republican Party, the Christian fascists, they're not your friends. If they were, they would have voted for this particular bill, but they're not. And there's no point in pretending that they are just because they sit on this committee. So don't make that mistake. But the House narrowly passed, and this is just the first part of it. I was listening to Pelosi and some of the other leaders of the Democratic caucus in the House this morning. And for a moment, I thought it had passed the Senate, too, because of the congratulatory way in which they were talking about the passage of this Build Back Better pared down bill. But no, they were only talking about the House. Now, that was in and of itself an achievement, and it's not $3.5 trillion. It's just under $2 trillion. But governance is supposed to be making deals and compromising, so that's what was done. But enough of the bill was left that I don't think it was hyperbole when these Democratic leaders were saying this will have an effect on people in this country for decades, I would say for generations, to the same extent that some of the legislation passed way back in the 1930s by the Roosevelt administration had a profound effect and continues to have on people in this country. Or what the Obamacare bill, a profound effect. Now, that's only been around for, 15 years, but every attempt by these Christian fascists to kill social legislation, because they will tell you, well, Jesus suffered, so should you, or some such bullshit. I don't know what I have no idea what their reasoning is. But there's not a Republican in governance who's the least bit interested in making one's life a little easier, opening up opportunities. And I don't mean handouts. I'm talking about opening up opportunities, whether it's through healthcare or education or legal rights or equal protection under the law or whatever it is, fair wages. The Republicans, that's not, Christian fascists, I should say, that's not what they're about. They are about control and meanness and poverty of spirit and no laughter unless it's at someone else's expense. They are racist. I mean, come on. I'm not making this shit up. This is how they have defined themselves. This is what they have established as who they are. So anyway, $2 trillion in spending over the next decade. Now, keep in mind, this is not money that's going to plop down into all these various progressive ideas Monday morning. This is over the next decade. But it's designed to battle climate change and expand health care and try to shore up, or as one writer put it, reweave the nation's social safety net. And again, not a single Republican voted in favor of this in the U.S. House. So the vote was 220 to 213. I think there was one Democrat who voted against this. I think she's from Maine. But anyway, the idea was to have voted it up last night, but Kevin McCarthy, that prick, took care of that. Pelosi opened the final push to get this thing passed. And it's like herding cats. I mean, can you imagine trying to be a Democrat and be the Speaker of the House with various factions in the Democratic Party? Be curious to see now how Chuck Schumer is going to handle these two bastard Democrats in the Senate, Sinema and Manchin. That's going to be a white knuckler, isn't it? But Pelosi opened the final push with what she called, quote, a courtesy to her colleagues. And by that she meant, when she started speaking, she said, quote, I will be brief. So then she said this, quote, under this dome, the House, for centuries, members of Congress have stood exactly where we stand to pass legislation of extraordinary consequence in our nation's history and for our nation's future. And she said that the act that they were about to vote on, quote, will be the pillar of health and financial security in America. Well, that's not hyperbole. It's absolutely true. The problem here is most of us, and I put myself in this category, most of us are not aware, and this is a miscommunication on the part of the Democratic Party and Joe Biden. We're not aware of the extent that this is going to have a life-changing force here in the United States. And this is another reason that the Republicans are trying so desperately and have been trying to kill this. And it never would have come up under a Christian fascist administration. And if they do get power back in 2022, they will do everything they possibly can to kill every bit of it, just like they did with Obamacare. So anyway, now the bill, even though it passed the House, still has a long way to go. A long and winding road, as John Lennon said, I guess, or was that Paul McCartney? The Democratic leaders have got to get this through the 50-50 Senate. And with Sinema and Manchin, these two total assholes, it's going to be difficult. And in the process of convincing the two assholes to vote for this, the negotiations that are going to be involved is almost certain to reshape this whole bill and then force it back to the House, if it passes at all. So all of this could be avoided so easily. I mean, it went from $3.5 trillion to just under $2 trillion. And all that has to happen to get this passed and on Biden's desk for his signature is for Sinema and Manchin to just sit down and shut the fuck up and let the adults in the room handle this and vote for it and get it done and move on. But Manchin and Sinema, for some reason, maybe because they're Christian fascists, maybe because they're just assholes, I don't know. But there is not a single good reason, and this I do know, not a single good reason for either one of them to not support this bill. I don't know why they're doing it. And even though it's been slashed and pared back from the $3.5 trillion plan that Biden originally wanted, the legislation that the House passed this morning, capitalism is fueled by debt. I mean, that's the hyper energy of capitalism is debt, not profit, debt. So $160 billion added to the federal budget deficit over 10 years is like a rounding error. It means nothing unless you're a Christian fascist. Then that number is going to be trotted out, and the American public will be beat over the head with this $160 billion and all kinds of bullshit that is all the Christian Fascist Party has left to do. They do not govern. They cannot legislate. They are simply trying on the state level to completely refigure all the congressional districts so that the vast majority of people in this country will not have a chance to be represented in the Congress, at which point this country explodes. And they're doing it. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.